All right, ladies and gentlemen, you need to see what happened off the air. Rotus is here. We have a very, very important money laundering conversation.
No. Anyway, Rotus, skip. We can't wait to get to that.
I know. Let me rush through everything. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers out there. We're going to kick off with gold falling below $4,000. Basically, profit taking. People have started selling off after the rally. Let's move on. Move on from gold. U.S. markets were down yesterday. 2 out of the last 3 days. The shutdown, a number of worries about AI spending, tech spending, basically. But still, 6 days in a row before two out of the last 3 pullbacks on the U.S. markets. Still, multi-year highs for U.S. markets. Move on from U.S. markets. Asian markets, the only story is that South Korea is back from a holiday. 1.46% leading the Asian markets. SK Hynix and Samsung. Remember, we talked about those 2 companies and the deals that they signed with OpenAI to build out data centers in South Korea. So those are the 2 particular stocks that pushed up the Kospi over in Korea. So we move on from the Asian markets. Now, we talked about Argentina yesterday. Let me move so you can see Mr. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary of the United States. They've announced a $20 billion currency swap for Argentina to be able to draw down on that swap, to be able to fund some defending peso. They are using the U.S. Exchange Stabilization Fund set up in 1934. It was part of a U.S. devaluation to gold. 2 billion seed funding is about 94 to 100 billion in this fund, and it is not under Congress. It's under the U.S. Treasury and the Fed, and they use that to select where they want to intervene in markets. And so the U.S. actually directly bought pesos. We'll have to see how that impacts things in Argentina. Historically, U.S. interventions in currency markets since 1971. In June 1998, they bought the yen during the Asian currency crisis. September 2000, when the euro was birthed, there was some pressures there. They bought euros to stabilize it. They sold yen in 2011. There was one Tokusho earthquake and tsunami that caused so much damage that insurance companies were, having to sell foreign assets to get yen to rebuild, and that pushed up the price of the yen. So they sold yen to bring that down. And then 2025, buying Argentine pesos. So only about 4 times the U.S. has intervened in another country's currency. Move on from the U.S. Bybit. I understand that Adefemi Akisa is in the UAE right now. This is a cryptocurrency exchange that has received what we understand is to be first licensed to operate operate a crypto exchange in the United Arab Emirates. The UAE has been very accommodating, like Nigeria and some other nations in Africa, to bring cryptocurrencies and crypto exchanges into their markets, approved by the Securities and Commodities Authority of the UAE. Essentially, they're also offering a product which is like decentralized finance. It's a tokenized money market fund. So think about money market funds. When you buy in with your money, you get shares based on the proportion of what you invested. Those shares are represented by tokens, which you can sell on the blockchain in minutes. So tokenization seems to be the future where decentralized finance is going. So Zimbabwe. This company is called Zimbos Abantu. Zimbos Abantu is repurposing mobile vans, putting solar panels on top of them and going into the hinterlands of Zimbabwe in order to provide healthcare services. About 50-60% of Zimbabweans live in rural areas and they're not able to access healthcare services. So these guys are using solar power to do the best that they can to go into the hinterlands and provide those healthcare services over in Zimbabwe. Nigeria can't keep, it's the same story almost every other day. The NGX, Nigerian stocks keep going up. We're now at 42.05% so far this year. The Naira remains at 1,472. The dollar remains stable. The story of 2025 for the Nigerian economy has been stability and rebound. And we're going into the festive season. So you can expect that GDP growth for the last 3 months, dirty December, all of you preparing for your Christmas celebrations and so on and so forth. So a decent trajectory for Nigeria. I said I would bring this data, healthy demand for our most recent primary treasury bill auction. And you'll see here, oversubscribed, 350 billion for the 364-day paper, 986 billion is what went after that. So 180% oversubscription. And your true yield, if you reinvest your upfront interest in that treasury bill, subsequently, your true yield is going to be higher than your stock rate. So again, healthy demand for fixed income, money markets over in Nigeria. All right. Let me get to Tim Godfrey. This is what I wanted to talk about. Tim Godfrey is a gospel artist. He went viral on social media lamenting compensation for gospel artists. Take a listen.
I don't like coming. Okay, to come to Nigeria became difficult because of how artists are being treated so badly. And I want to say it. All of those stories of why are they charging, why are they collecting money, why are they doing this, it got me so mad. I said, why are people wicked? What sense does it make that people work so hard and you are saying they should take? I have collected 2 parts of yam as honorarium. I have collected a full, alive, living, working, breathing chicken as honorarium. And that is what I'm going to use to pay school fees, pay house rent, buy property, No. That is so unfair. That is absolutely unfair.
So look, here's something I to share to people here in support of gospel artists. Contributions to real GDP in Nigeria, 57% is services. Gospel artists are entertainers. They provide you with a service and you pay for that service. There's been a repricing in Nigeria with the devaluation of the currency, upward movement of minimum wage. Please pay your gospel artists and pay them. Don't give them yams. Don't give them chickens. Pay them. You're going to church this weekend. All of our audience out there, pay gospel artists appropriately. They have school fees and they have bills along with everyone else. That's our update for today.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking about the treasury bill, the good yields. I mean, while I was on the air, I just did a little treasury something. You know. So everybody keeps looking at that. But I want to talk about Argentina today. You see, that's the problem I have with reforms. And there's a tape I had to reshare recently, where I was asking the Argentine, I think it was called the Secretary of Economy. They have that role in Argentina, that these reforms, where we're at the IMF spring meetings, that this reform is going to cause a lot of problems. And I saw it down the road. And it started to bubble up. Because it got to a point, we favored austerity over the people. Because we forget in a hurry that it is the people that will create the economic activity. It's the people that will bubble up the economy. So when you don't have that to service your reserves, then you are left flat out. And that's why now he's run to Trump to be able to give him like a convertible bill of 20 billion just to be able to prop up the reserves. Yep. Because when you look what he has in his net reserves, he has a lot of encumbrances, but he has about just 4 billion in his net reserves. Yep. The reserves are about for something billion, but just 4 billion. The net's there. So we should also be careful with that. What I've always said about Nigeria's reforms is the fact that because we are at a good place with the reserves now, and the focus, you know, the skies are aligning on the dollar and everything, does not mean we're there yet. Austerity is still impacting on the people. On the downside to that is the fact that we've increased the number of poor people in the country through the devaluation. So these are the areas we should also look at, because that's the area that matters the most. We can do all this corporate market treasury bill and all of that, which is good for us, the same people. But go and tell treasury bill to somebody in my village in Odobulu. Go and tell treasury bill to somebody that barely have anything in the village. And as regards that, Rotus, I support you. I don't know why billions will be used to host gospel events and they will not pay gospel musicians.
Okay.
I mean,
I have to say something very quickly. I know they say we're out of time, but I have to say something very quickly, because we are talking about this online, off the air, that we have to talk about, there's an intersection of gospel and the business of music. Yeah. I think that was what he was referring to. That's Tim Godfrey was referring to. And I'm glad that you put up an economic argument for why this is important. They contribute quite significantly to the GDP of the nation. Yeah. And many of them also pay taxes. I recall a time when LIRS had even hosted them as to how to get their taxes right, because they were earning money. Yeah. They also earn money from streaming platforms as well. But I want to say that, let me use the Experience as an example. The Experience is one of the biggest events, gospel or otherwise, in the Nigerian social scene and Lagos social scene every year. It's a boost to tourism because people actually plan their trips around them to come to Nigeria. They have a number of international artists who come in as well, and they pay very well as well. They have a good budget for that. So I think it's the danger of a single story. Yes, in some quarters, because it's also seen as ministry, that it's not everyone who wants to hear you worship God that can afford it. True. So in some instances, you will get chickens and goats, but in many instances, they also get very good money as well. So just put it out there. But I think the business case for this is that gospel industry in Nigeria contributes significantly. And I think it's time for us to begin to look at that, how Nathaniel Bassey is doing Hallelujah Challenge right now. And 2 million people watch it by 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I think we need to recognize that and give them that due kudos in terms of how much, and a lot of people have traveled down for that as well. But we have to go. That's screaming in my ears that we have to go.
Amen.
But they get paid. They get rewarded. I think it's important. But the bigger conversation is how much they contribute to the Nigerian economy and the status of the Nigerian gospel scene.